Welcome to the Super Speedway.
Welcome to episode 203 of the Super Speedway podcast, recorded Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. I'm your host, Eric Young, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, James Cush. James, we can see each other tonight, but only we can see each other tonight.
Only we can see each other. That's right. We're not sharing it with you.
Yeah, we pulled the plug on the video. The last couple of videos weren't getting very many views. It's extra work. And we said, let's just do the podcast thing.
Yeah, if we'll do live videos from time to time, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll do some fun stuff.
Eric, I was actually, I was shocked. I jumped a little bit because I thought for sure I was going to get a Bush brother starting the podcast tonight.
Yeah,
but then I got your voice.
Yeah, so. I spent too much time messing with resetting the studio back the way it used to be.
Yes.
So I completely forgot about the shake and bake and stuff that I could have pulled from Kurt. I mean,
so good.
I really,
so good.
I screwed up there. I do have a Scott Miller clip for later in the show though, so
that's good.
That everybody's probably already heard at this point, but
everybody's friend Scott, yes,
it's there. So, yeah, James, we had the Quaker State 400 this weekend, formerly of Kentucky Speedway, this weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the final race on the old asphalt. Kurt Busch
and configuration,
yes.
Kurt
Busch passes his brother late to get the win, with a little help from Ross Chastain.
Yeah, a little teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work.
I thought it was interesting that, first of all, I'm looking forward to this podcast, James, because you and I are going to disagree on some stuff.
We are going to disagree. I have not anticipated or been had so much anticipation for a discussion than I have for this very moment. So
I can think of two main points we're going to disagree on and potentially more. So
good.
So yeah, to start out, I did think it was ironic that Kyle complained about the way that Kurt's teammate raced him at the end of this race when Kyle wrecked his own teammate to win in the Xfinity race the day before. Of course, Kyle didn't intentionally wreck his teammate, but he still did.
Yeah.
Not to mention, Kyle's a two-time Cup champion. He's won, 100 and at that point 1 times in the Xfinity series, and he wrecked a guy who's still trying to get his first win so he can maybe continue this racing career that he has going. But we'll talk about Xfinity in a couple of minutes.
Yes, I have thoughts.
The drama at the end of the Atlanta race with Ross Chastain. Chastain takes Kyle's line away. Basically, to me, I think just accelerated what was going to happen anyway by about 10 laps, because I'm pretty sure Kurt was going to catch Kyle anyway. A lot of people were saying they didn't think so, but I think he was. But he got it done in a lap, what would have taken 10, or a corner at least. And we're going to disagree on what we think of this move by Ross Chastain, because
sure are, buddy.
So let me clarify. Well, first, okay, let me start here. I'll let you counter and then I'll clarify. So I don't like the move. Go, James.
Oh, I love the move. I love everything about it. Oh man, where do I begin? Do I begin with the shake and bake video?
The shake and bake video is great, by the way.
Kyle Busch pouting extremely hardcore afterwards. All of it. Kurt yelling, we beat Kyle after the race. Everything was so good. So classic.
Kurt Eric, playing the crowd at the end of the race was excellent, by the way.
Yep. Absolutely. So, Eric, I know where you stand on this, but let me get us started real quick. Listen, Kyle and 18 team, be aware of the situation and prepare for it and beat them.
Right.
If you don't want to get beat, don't fall in line behind Ross Chastain. You had how many corners of opportunity before he got to Ross Chastain? I mean, Eric, he's coming a half a second to a second faster per lap than Ross.
I mean, to be fair, I think he got there a little faster when he got to Ross, because I'm pretty sure that 42 car dropped anchor.
Right, but again, be aware of your surroundings. I mean, that's point number 1 for me. Point number 2, Kyle Busch drives for Joe Gibbs Racing, which, Eric, Joe Gibbs Racing shows up to every racetrack every single week with every single possible advantage given to them on God's earth, right?
Pretty much.
Okay, so if Chip Ganassi Racing has a chance to take advantage and give themselves a little bit of a a little bit of a boost for once, because they don't show up to the racetrack with every single advantage every week, I am totally okay with them teaming up to make this happen. I have a few more points, but I wanted to drop those two nuggets on you first, and let's see where you come out at.
So here's the deal. Let me clarify.
I always love when you start with a here's the deal. Let's go.
I hate this because I hate when lapped cars get involved. Now, to be fair, Ross Chastain wasn't a lapped car yet, but he was going to be a lapped car. I don't like it when slow traffic gets involved in a race. I'm going to complain about it every time it happens, but I don't see any fault in it. I don't fault Ross Chastain for it. I don't fault Kyle Busch for being upset. I don't fault, Kurt for being happy about it. I don't fault the fans for being upset. I don't fault fans of Kurt that's saying that it's fair game. Everybody does it. They all do it. They're all going to do it if they have the opportunity. I'm just never going to like it. I'm never going to like a guy that's not racing for the win, influencing the win. That being said, James, this is NASCAR. It's not Formula One. You get points no matter what position you finish throughout the race. Everybody has a place on the track. Everybody's out there racing. And I'm never going to say, I've argued against some of the lap cars that get passed 47 times in a race. Every other lap they're getting passed, that, at some point it's probably time to pull it off the track, but that's not how NASCAR is. And I'm okay with that, but I still hate it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. You at least listen, man, I don't like lap traffic, not as much as you do. I mean, I understand.
I just don't like somebody else that's not racing for the win influencing the win. But you're always going to have it. We had it a couple years ago when Denny Hamlin pushed Eric Jones to a win in an exhibition race at Daytona when he was a lap down. I mean, this stuff happens all the time, and it happens constantly in restrictor plate tracks.
Oh, and every single restart, every single week, you've got guys letting guys in or pushing. Yeah. I mean, there's always teammate work.
I don't think NASCAR should do anything about this, and they won't. They already said
no. There's nothing to do.
But I mean, there's no way you could ever police something like this. There's no way in a million years.
No, and I think at the end of the day, what we have to remember too is Ross Chastain's number one job on the track is to bring home a win for Chip Ganassi Racing.
Yep. And
doing what he did, brought home a win for Chip Ganassi Racing. And a guy who's looking for a ride next year.
That's what I was going to say is of all the things, I mean, that Ross isn't going to ruffle anybody's feathers that's not going to potentially hire him next year.
Kyle Busch Kyle Busch ain't helping him unless he wants to go back to the Xfinity Series or the Truck Series.
There's no ride at JGR, so he doesn't have anything to worry about there.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, Eric, I'm glad that you said that very eloquently. That I didn't know if you were going to go that way because this is NASCAR racing, and every single week, Eric, the leader is going to be affected by lap traffic,
right?
And that's such a great point that you had, because it's not like Kurt's radio went ahead to Cody Ware and was like, "Hey, Cody, can you take the high line?" This was, teammate communication, spotters, and I was watching a video actually before we started, Eric, and it was pretty well synchronized between Ganassi Racing, where the 42 spotter comes out and says, "Hey, Kurt wants the low line," and and it worked. It just worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell Kyle was thinking, taking the high line with Ross Chastain in front of him.
That's
follow Kurt into that turn.
That was my.
Well, I guess Kurt was behind him. So no matter what Kyle would have done, he probably would have. But at least if he takes a different line than Chastain did, Chastain would have to switch lanes and make it real obvious what he's doing.
Yeah. And honestly, and that goes back to my very first point was with Kyle and the 18 team. Be aware of the situation that's going on. I mean, that's the thing. It's not like we're racing, I don't know, at 300 miles an hour and you're coming up on them all that fast. You've got a lot of track in front of you to see and survey the situation. And I guarantee you, Eric, that this ain't happening again to Joe Gibbs Racing. They will remember this, and the next time this type of situation is up for, it may never happen again. It may happen next week.
Right.
But they will be aware of who is in front of them and when, and they will prepare better and know what to do moving forward. This is not something that's going to happen again.
I do have a bone to pick, though.
Let's have it.
Here we go. And this is kind of courtesy of Dave Moody. I'm agreeing with Dave Moody on this.
My God.
The bone that I have to pick is with all of the people throwing a fit over Kyle Busch's reaction. Where the hell have you been through this guy's career? When was the last time you saw Kyle finish second in a race? When was the last time you saw him lose the lead in the last 10 laps of a race and be gracious about it? It never happens.
Yeah.
So get over it. Enjoy it. Enjoy. I love it. He finished second. He's PO'd, and he's got a video on his Instagram today of Brexton all mad on his phone because Brexton lost.
Yeah. Can you imagine, as bad as Kyle is, he's bringing up somebody who's going to be twice as bad.
Yeah. Brexton's going to be terrible.
It's going to be the worst.
Yeah.
Eric, you said, I'm going to let you say it. I want to lead you into it. But you had such a great comment, and it's in regards to Kurt winning and Kyle being super pouty and angry. But NASCAR is better.
Yeah, NASCAR is better with the Busch brothers.
100%,
man. This series is so good with these two. The rivalry that they have. I wish we saw it more often. Unfortunately, we just don't get to see it that often. But the last time we saw it, really, we saw it at Bristol before. We saw it at Kentucky a couple years ago.
Oh, that was so good. That Kentucky race. You were at that?
I was at that race. Yes, I got to ask both of them a question after the race.
That was so good. That was such a good race. I still remember that race.
I mean, that was... this is what we need to see. And I mean, we've seen it all the way back to the All-Star race where they wrecked each other and then didn't speak to each other till Thanksgiving. Yeah. It's this... Kurt did a great job of playing it up this weekend, and playing to the crowd. He was a WWE wrestler at that moment. He was the baby face, getting the pop from the crowd because he was going after the heel, and it was perfect.
Yeah,
so good.
Big brothers. Big brothers may not always be better than little brothers, but big brothers know how to get it done too.
And there's a lot of people in the sport maybe that haven't been around long enough that don't remember.
People don't remember
just
Kurt,
a few years ago, Kurt would have been getting booed like crazy.
God, people don't remember young Kurt. Like I think you and I do. You and I have seen Kurt's whole career. And honestly, of the two of them, he has had the biggest growth. As a person, more so than Kyle. But Kyle has gone the other way with the talent side of things. Kyle is regarded as the best driver in the sport, regardless of what he's doing. He can have a bad year like he did last year, but Kyle Busch is still Kyle Busch.
Yeah.
But that was, there's so many things at play there. The wrestling heel, I like that. And also, the brother rivalry. And Kurt, Eric, to his credit, in his press conference, he said, I concede the numbers don't sway my way, and then the Kurt versus Kyle debate.
Right.
He said, but it's but right now we're 2-2 when we go head to head. I was
gonna say he's gotten the last two of them. So
Kyle got the first two, but Kurt's got the last two. So that's awesome, man. That was just such a. I don't know, Eric. We don't always get an interesting finish, and man, sometimes I'll take them any way I can get them, and that one. We'll remember this one, Eric. I mean, every time Kurt's beat Kyle so far, it's been memorable as heck, and we won't forget this one.
I'm excited to see where Kurt ends up next year. Hopefully, it allows him to compete. According to Dale Jr., it's done. It's done deal. Yeah. Paper signed. Yeah. Just got to announce it. So I believe it. I believe that 100%. Yeah. So
and Kurt extends his one race winning streak now to I think. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up really quick. I had it earlier.
Well, it's one race so far. You can still make some.
Yeah.
I mean, Kurt could pull off a championship, right? Probably not with Ganassi, especially going out.
Yeah,
but who knows? Maybe Ganassi's throwing a bunch. I mean, they don't have anything to lose.
Eric, they've got some speed in that car the last couple of weeks. He's winning stages and all sorts of stuff. He's actually pretty good.
Chastain's been good too.
Yeah, Ross has been fast. Ross was second at Pocono.
Yep.
He has 6 straight seasons of 1 win.
Nice.
in the Cup Series dating back 2016. And then 2 seasons before that he has 1 win and 2 wins. So he's this is par for the course, I guess, for Kurt. He gets his 1 win a year. But
I think Kurt still has a potential championship in him in the right circumstance. I don't think it'll be this year, but if he signs with the right team and has an opportunity, maybe. Probably not, because he's probably going to be in a teaching role more than a racing for the win role. Yeah, but maybe.
Yeah, he's a solidifier.
He's still got some talent. Let's put it this way, James. He could run circles around some of those SRX guys.
Well, no kidding. Yeah. You put him in a Hendrick car or a Gibbs car, he's top 5, top 10 each week type of guy. But he just doesn't have that, and he hasn't. since his Stuart Haas days when he was getting upwards of 20 top tens a year.
Right.
He hasn't had that for quite a while now,
and he underperformed there as well as he did there. He underperformed there. He could have done better.
And I think what we got to remember with that one car is it was so inconsistent for so long. Kurt has come in there and, that's a lesser team, which is now, going to be owned by someone else. And he's elevated that seat, even with the devastating departure of Kyle Larson from that organization. Kurt's kept his end of the deal up. He has brought performance to that team that they were lacking, especially after losing Kyle Larson. So he's done his job. And I think Trackhouse moving forward, or 2311, which is the other, Jordan Bianchi's got that one, says that one's pretty much nailed down. So we'll see where he's going here. But whichever team he goes to, those are two perfect fits for him for the same role moving forward.
He'll be in a Toyota again next year.
Yeah, I think he might be.
So overall, James, I mean, I don't think this was a barn burner race by any means, but I thought it was a pretty good Atlanta race, right?
Oh yeah,
for
really
Atlanta,
good.
it was great.
It was a great weekend overall, I think.
Yeah, I agree. It was
racing.
Good racing across the board. I think the best possible scenario happened during this race, and that's that we had a 30-minute red flag for the track coming up.
Yeah.
30 minutes not bad for replacing part of the track. I mean, that's a caution period during Road America. So
yeah, remember when that happened at Daytona in the 500? Yep. Oh man, that was probably almost 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
Before the track was coming up, that was a long time for
now. They've got this.
That was good.
This
that
compound that they can quick dry and make it work, and they did a great job of it. But it was a nice reminder to everybody that hey, this track is old as crap. Yeah. And we got to replace it. So.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. It needs to be at a minimum repaved. Yeah. I mean, the pictures of that track, that surface, it's just a cheese grater out there.
Jeff Gluck's got a great quiet track photo of the front stretch with the hole and all that. Because they did tear up some of it and gave a piece of it to Kurt for the win too.
Yeah. Man.
So one thing I want to note though, James, why this was a better Atlanta race than what we've seen lately.
Let's have it.
It was 100 miles less than what we normally run in Atlanta. 400-mile race instead of 500. Another argument for shorter races in the Cup Series. 500 miles at Atlanta is atrocious.
On the Teardown podcast, Jordan Bianchi said, why are we so stuck on numbers when we go to tracks? He said, why couldn't we run a 250 lap short track race versus a 500 lap? And we'll talk about SRX in a little bit, but I think one of the things they've got right, Eric, is the shorter races on short tracks.
Here's the thing, James. Let's just quit calling the races the Quaker State 400 and do something like the Eldora Dirt Derby and just get the number out of the freaking name and nobody will give a crap.
Yeah, when you go to Monaco in F1, what is it called? The Monaco Grand Prix.
Right.
Well, we can think of something.
Exactly. Who cares about the number? Because half the time the number doesn't matter anyway. We run 500s at Phoenix, but they're 500K.
There's only two 500s that really matter. It's the Daytona 500 and the Southern 500. Those are the two 500s I care about. Everything else, I don't care.
Exactly.
Yep.
You got a note here on Brothers 1 to 2 history. You want to get into that?
Yeah, so I thank you to Reddit, which Eric, you pointed this out to me earlier today. It can be hit or miss.
Yeah,
this was a hit. They have brothers finishing 1-2 in NASCAR Cup Series history, and Eric, there's a lot. Did you have? A chance
I didn't even click on the link. I'll click on it right now.
Okay. So the Busch brothers are now in second place overall for total wins with 92.
That's interesting.
They are behind the Allisons, Bobby and Donnie. So they are.
Oh wow! I wouldn't even see. Yeah. That's why, because that's out of my time period.
Yeah, they are closing in on some history there, which I guess I didn't realize. But some good races or some good results from the brothers here. Kurt and Kyle. So we mentioned that this has happened 4 times. Bobby and Terry Labonte. This happened to them 3 times. And one of them, Eric, I think you and I probably were at this race, 1995 at Michigan. Bobby beat Terry first and second. We mentioned the Allisons 5 times, first and second. And then there's the Flock brothers, which I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even know about Fonte Flock. There was a third Flock brother. So we have Bob Fonte and of course Tim Flock, the most well-known of the bunch.
Right.
They finished 13 times between the 3 of them. They finished first and second. A couple other ones that you may know, the Burtons, which is an interesting one. Jeff and Ward 3 times in one season. That's all that they Anytime they finished first and second, all came in 1 year, 1999. Jeff
That doesn't
won all
surprise
three.
me because Ward was not.
Ward had a run.
Yeah, he wasn't in quality equipment for most of his career,
Yeah.
but he had that year.
He had a run in the late 90s
Yep.
and into, what was it, 2002? He won the Daytona 500.
Yeah, I didn't say it was right around there that he won the 500.
Yeah, he had a nice little run.
Because he won the 500. I went and visited Daytona that summer, and his car was in Daytona, USA.
Oh, yeah, the 22 Cat car.
You know,
yeah.
It was actually pretty disappointing because of all the drivers' cars that I would want to see. Ward just was not high on my list.
No offense to Michael McDowell, but yeah, that's another
that's
one.
True.
Yeah. A couple other ones I'll just mention them real quick. The Waltrips, everybody knows Michael and Daryl. And then the Wallace brothers, Mike, Kenny, and of course, Hall of Famer, Rusty.
Right.
They did not have any, the Waltrips and the Wallaces, no first and second place finishes.
That's because Mike and Kenny never ran up front.
Yeah, no kidding. There's a couple honorable mentions for them, but yeah, and of course Daryl and Michael. Michael was never, especially during Daryl's heyday, they were
right.
Two different generations, and then one more for
Daryl and Michael. A lot of people picture them as father and son because they're so far apart.
They're so far apart. Yeah, it's like me and my brother Jared. We are way far apart.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that. And then last one, the Bodine brothers never had it happen before. A couple close calls, but yeah, Jeff, Brett, and Todd. So yeah, it was kind of cool seeing all the brothers that have raced in NASCAR and how close they've come to first and second place finishes. But also the fact that Kurt and Kyle are closing in on history for total wins, which I mean, Kyle accounts for a lot of those, but Kurt, you know, that was his 33rd career win. That's a pretty good number. He's getting up there on the all-time list. So very cool.
Yeah, pretty neat. Worth noting too that this, you know, it wasn't just a Kurt got lucky at the end type of race, which we've seen Kurt do in the past. 144 laps led on this one. He finished first in stage 2, second in stage 1. Just, you know, he basically, I mean, he dominated the race. This is a Kyle Larson-esque day for Kurt Busch.
Well, actually, I'm glad you said that, Eric, because Larson had the penalty late, but he was never a threat.
Never a factor.
Eric, since Hendrick has changed the nose, I know they've won a couple road courses, but
yeah, I don't think I'll be picking them at the top of 1.5 mile tracks right now.
Yeah, what happened here? We thought they would come in and this would be a Hendrick day.
They're not awful. They're just not dominating. And if you look at the gap that they had on the field to where they're running now, I mean, Alex Bowman finished 4th. I think you know, Larson was probably going to get himself a top 5 without that penalty.
He would have. Yep.
But they were so far ahead of everybody that it's still been a pretty big gap that they've lost as a result.
It's noticeable.
They were so far ahead that they're still getting top 5s out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, like, you've been so dominant that when you don't dominate, it's noticeable. Like Chase Elliott led laps, finished 8th, good day, or finished 7th. That's a good day. Like you said, Larson would have had top 5. He had a penalty. And then Byron was just not there all day, so he just finished 20. Never finished any stage. Never got any stage points or anything like that.
Let's put it this way: a couple of years ago, when Harvick had the rear window deal, and they fixed that, NASCAR came at him, and then he won the next week. That didn't happen for Hendrick this time.
No, there's there's definitely no nose thing going on. Which I even wonder too if Hendrick's just kind of easing back until we get to the playoffs a little bit.
Maybe.
To see. There's might be some gamesmanship going on here, so let's just keep an eye on it. I thought that was an interesting observation.
Yeah. Kyle Busch led the second most laps with 91 laps led in this one. Chase Elliott leads 13, so another Hendrick driver. He finishes 7th, so not terrible. They had an issue too, didn't they? Have a pit stop issue or something?
Yes, that's correct. That kind of threw him off a little bit. Yes, yep.
Worth noting, Tyler Reddick, again, another strong performance out of him with a 6th place finish.
Another good points day too. 42 total points. Like, they are making a push to make it into the playoffs. It's very good.
Ryan Blaney did not have a performance like he did in the spring, but still comes home with a top 5 finish, finishing 5th. So good on them to rally at the end of the day. Austin Dillon finishes 12th. So, I mean, a good day for both the RCR cars, which have consistently been in the top 15 every week.
Yep.
You mentioned Kyle Larson comes home 18th after the speeding penalty.
I think we should mention the Burrito finishing 9th. Matt Benedetto.
Yep.
Yeah. Another good run for him
as well. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and wasn't it DBC said he's done? He's not back in that car next year?
That's correct. That's what they said.
I didn't get to listen to DBC today, but I know you listened to it yesterday.
Yeah, there was some good nuggets of information coming from DBC. Whether you go to some of it's speculation, but they did say that Matt's not going to be coming back to the 21 for sure. So we'll see. I'd like to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for safety purposes.
Yeah, Daniel Suarez and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finish 36th and 37th.
Yeah, that
back
was
of the field.
Yeah.
Both of them involved in an accident, which wasn't of their doing. That was a Cody Ware deal.
There's Cody Ware. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anything else worth mentioning in this one?
No, that was an accident early, and like you said, it was a shorter race, which
Yeah.
was good. Especially when you got that red flag. And we dodged the weather.
Yeah, we dodged the weather,
which was good.
I was worried, but yeah, they
Well,
managed to.
Anytime Todd goes to the track, I'm worried.
Right, exactly.
So.
You mentioned 33rd victory in 741 Cup Series races for Kurt Busch. Let's see. Chase Briscoe, highest finishing rookie, in 15th place in this one.
Very good.
We had 2 more races over the weekend, James, and I'm going to start with the first one, and we're going to go back to Iowa for the Corn Belt 150 presented by Premier Chevy Dealers from Knoxville Raceway. The title of the race is As Long as the Green-White Checker Finishes at the end. Austin Hill somehow manages to get through the wreckage and get himself a win in this one. The first 2 stages were pretty smooth for the most part. And then we turned it into a demolition derby at Knoxville and 4 green-white checkers at the end of the race to end this thing. We parked about 3/4 of the field on the front stretch going into turn 1. James said he checked out after like the second green-white checker.
I did. I will admit that I went to bed.
So this is where James and I are going to disagree again because James is not a fan of this race, and I thought this race was great. Because here's the deal. Here's the deal, James. Here's the
segment.
Deal. Yep. Exactly. This is short track stuff, man. This is what everybody wants. It was a 1-groove racetrack. They all tried to pile into the turn on green-white checkers. I don't want to see this every week, but you know what? Once a season, let's see them tear some stuff up and get mad at each other.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the truck drivers hate it, although I'll tell you what, Austin Hill had no complaints about this race. He thought it was excellent.
Of course, yeah.
He was very happy at the end, and the people that were complaining were the ones that went home on the tow truck. So, I don't know. I mean...
Which was half the field.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, James, this is what I expected when we went to Eldora the first time. This is what I thought we were going to see.
Yeah.
We saw it here. I think NASCAR is to blame for this, to be completely honest. And the reason that is okay. So today you watched or listened to DBC. I watched the last 2 most recent episodes of Haley Deegan's vlog on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And she talked about this race in one of them, the most recent one. And she noted that when SRX raced here, they took the windshields out. And because NASCAR doesn't take the windshields out, they make this track hard and slick to keep the dirt off the windshields, to keep it out of the grills. And because of that, you're going to have a shitty surface. It's just what's going to happen. You can't race. You're going to have a 1-groove track. And at Eldora, it works because there's banking there. And there's just not any banking here.
Yep.
So it's what you're going to get at Knoxville. I think we can come back here. I would love to see NASCAR take the windshields out of these things and actually run a legit dirt race.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I was entertained. I thought it was great. I did want him to finish eventually. Like, I was tired of tearing stuff up at the end.
Yeah.
But, I mean, everybody says it's a 1-groove track and you couldn't pass, but there were guys that passed. I mean, there were guys that came through the field. So, I don't know. If you take everything up to the end of the race, technically the advertised end of the race, it was a good race.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know. It was a rough watch, but yeah, I mean, the first parts of it were fine, but it got pretty messy, really messy there towards the end. And it was just I don't know. I mean, 1 or 2 of those is good, but man, when it starts getting,
4 green-white checkers is too much.
Yeah. When you're wrecking like that, and especially when you're piling them in like that, it gets to be a lot. And then the cautions are long and you're cleaning up the mess. And
I was a big proponent of unlimited green-white checkers, but every time we hit 3 or more, I go, you know what? Maybe 3 was a good limit. Yeah.
We haven't pushed the envelope with SRX on that yet. They have unlimited green-white checkered finishes. I don't know. It's Oh, it was rough. I don't know. It was just rough. I mean, it made me miss Eldora just a little bit more too. I was optimistic heading into this race, and it
Yeah,
did
me too.
not meet my. I think that's probably part of my problem too, Eric, because it did not meet my expectations. After,
I mean,
um,
try to ignore the end though, James. It was a decent race.
I mean, it was solid throughout. Yeah, I mean, it was fine. It was fine, and I'd say the last 20 laps or so, and then the green white checkers were a little bit dicey, but
I was
I mean,
extremely
I was.
disappointed with the crowd, but I think a lot of it had to do with impending weather, so they didn't get the walk up at all. And I
Yeah.
believe this place seats a lot more than Eldora does.
It does, yeah. Knoxville's really big, and
Yeah.
SRX was a pretty good size show for that, and it looked small there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was impressed by some of the driver. I mean, there was some really good driving that was had out there. I mean, Chandler Smith, really good run for him. I thought he was going to win the dang thing, and Todd Gilliland too was having a great day. So those were,
Well, here's an interesting note on this one, James.
Yeah.
This weekend, all three races, the 18 car was in position to win and lost at the end of the race
yes,
due to
that's so
some
funny.
thing.
Yeah, that's so funny.
So
It's all Kyle Busch's fault.
yeah, exactly. Haley Deegan ran really well in this one. Thought she
Yeah,
might
she
have a
didn't get the-
shot. She got wrecked at the
Yeah.
end, but
She didn't get the finish she deserved.
Yeah.
I was kicking myself last week for not picking her in this race, and that it didn't really matter. I picked the wrong guy anyway.
yeah.
But
you
she
did.
she had a strong run. I was happy to see that. She seems to like that track, and like the dirt, obviously. And then Carson Hocevar continues to impress me. I know he didn't get the finish he deserved either.
And for the record, was very upset with the way people raced in this race.
Yeah, he was really upset, and I mean, deservedly so. I think he had a really good day ruined, a couple of different times.
Yeah.
But yeah, Carson. I know I've said this before on this podcast, Eric, but he's caught my attention. It takes a lot for guys in the truck series to kind of poke out at me with their talent, but
Right.
he's obviously very talented, and it shows in the way he runs.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see what else. Oh, Donnie Schatz is a good one to mention here too. Donnie,
He was
Donnie
having a good
ran
day.
spectacular. He's
Yeah.
probably the first guy we've seen jump in one of these things from the dirt background and actually run competitively.
Yeah, I know that he got taken out with the wreck, but
Yeah.
I thought we were gonna have a Scott Bloomquist situation, and we did not. Donnie
Yeah.
was good. He was really good. He was gonna get a top 10 out of that thing.
Chase Briscoe was running well till he was involved in an accident.
Yeah, I was bummed for him too. That they were both involved in that really big first one that started the green white checkered parade.
We got the first news of potential issues with Michael Annett in that he was supposed to run, and Josh Berry filled in for him in this one, and we'll talk more about Michael Annett later on. Jessica Friesen beat Stewart by one position.
Yeah, I picked Stewart in our picks last week, and I was like, he was creeping up there for a top.
That
10.
was my prediction, man. He's either gonna win or wreck.
Well, and then I looked at the practice charts last week, and I thought, oh my god, what happened? What happened to Stewart Friesen? So that did not work out well for me.
Yeah,
no, not good at all.
Johnny Sauter ran well for a while. He led 8 laps in this one, and he's arguably not a dirt guy at all.
No, he's not. And then Matt Crafton. We joke about Matt Crafton on the dirt, but he just is solid.
Yeah,
just solid.
He is.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a good pick for these dirt races. He
doesn't crash.
Yeah. Derek Kraus led 10 laps. Great run for him. Finished 5th.
Yep.
You mentioned Todd Gilliland, 4th place finish. He led 61 laps. I think pretty much led a large chunk of, I think, the first stage, wasn't it, or the second stage?
Yeah, he led a lot of that. Finished second in stage 1. Yeah. Kraus stole that stage, and he won the second stage.
Yep.
Yeah, Kraus got 2 playoff points out of that deal.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm good with coming back here. I'm good with replacing it with Eldora though too.
Yeah, if we don't get Eldora back, this is fine, I guess.
Yeah. As I was watching it, James, and this was before the end, I'm okay with running a couple dirt races in the truck series every year. I wouldn't.
Yeah, that's fine.
Honestly, I wouldn't mind adding a third. I think any more than 3 would be too much, but it's just something different. And of all the series, I liked seeing the Cup drivers on dirt. I thought that was cool to try it this year. But this is the series that makes sense to run on dirt. They're freaking trucks, you know?
Yeah.
I liked it. I want to see them on dirt. You know,
the trucks fit better on dirt than anything else.
The format works better and stuff too. I mean, it's just it's easier to take this format and make it work for the trucks than it is for the Cup Series. Cup Series seems cheapened when you don't have live pit stops.
Yes, it does.
So
yes, it does. Yep.
Truck Series was born without live pit stops. It's okay to not have them.
That's right. Yeah.
All
There's
right.
room for testing in the Truck Series.
Saturday, we went back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. It was the Credit Karma 250 from Atlanta. Kyle Busch, we mentioned him, gets his 102nd Xfinity Series victory, sweeps all 5 Xfinity races this season, and says, this is it, James. No more Xfinity races for him. He did wreck his teammate on the way to the victory. Daniel Hemrick dominated this race, or at least led a lot of this race. Didn't dominate this race, but 45 laps led, second to Kyle Busch, and was en route to win it when Kyle got into the back of him going into turn 1 and ended up turning him into the wall. Kyle was very subdued in victory lane. No bow, no burnout. Seemed very apologetic. Actually seemed legitimately, I mean, he might have been playing it up a little more, but seemed legitimately disappointed in what happened.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit of showmanship there because he didn't want, he didn't,
You mean he's learning his lesson a little bit?
Yeah. I also do not buy for a second that guy is not running Xfinity again.
Oh, I don't either. Either.
No.
If he doesn't run an Xfinity race next year, I'll be shocked.
Yeah, he's coming back.
Definitely.
Let's pump the brakes. There was a lot of people like reminiscing on the greatness of Kyle Busch in the Xfinity Series. I'm just like, guys, he'll be back.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Don't worry, he'll be. I don't care what that dude says. I don't believe a word that he says when it comes to this. When it comes to this stuff, he'll be back.
Yep, exactly. Noah Gragson gets a 3rd place finish. Finally, a good week for him. And they had trouble during the race. They rallied to get back to 3rd.
Yes, they did.
So good on him. Jeb Burton with a 2nd place finish out of this one. Again, we had the wreck at the end, so things shuffled a little bit here at the end, but good race for him. And nice to see Ty Dillon finally get a good performance in the Xfinity Series, finishing 5th.
God, yeah, and for our motorsports too, which is not not the class of the field by any means, but yeah, him and Brett Moffitt had really good days for that team. Really cool to see that.
Yep.
I was gonna say too, Eric, I know we've talked about it a bunch of times, but man, Daniel Hemrick, like, it's gotta happen for him at some point. Just, I was so bummed when he got punted. I mean, he didn't really get punted. Let me.
No, it was. I mean,
that was a racing.
Kyle did not intentionally. Anybody who thinks Kyle intentionally wrecked him,
he didn't.
Follow
He
racing.
didn't do that.
Yeah.
He didn't do that.
First of all,
purpose, but...
he's not going to intentionally wreck his teammate when they didn't have any conflict during the race.
Yeah.
Even so, I mean, Kyle, I think, has learned enough in his career that he wouldn't intentionally wreck a teammate, especially. Yeah. But yeah, it was a racing deal. He was trying to push him into the turn. It would have benefited Kyle just as much as it would have benefited Daniel. Kyle still would have passed him and won it anyway. But
yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I know. I was just so bummed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's ridiculous. This guy, and I mean, if he doesn't win this year, does he get a chance next year?
Yes, I think Gibbs would bring him back.
I hope so, but man, I don't know.
Good. He's been good. He's
never won a race in the top 3 series, James.
He can do it here. It's gonna happen. I still think it's gonna happen. We say it every week, but it's gonna happen.
I think it's gonna happen too, but
eventually.
Anything else with this one?
That was the big story. I don't know if we need to spend too much more time on it.
I don't think so. Sam Mayer was the highest finishing rookie, finished 9th.
Yep, I thought it was cool to see Ryan Vargas have a great run.
Yeah,
that's always nice. But yeah, there's I think some of the news off the track we'll get into too. But yeah, this was just kind of your run of the mill Atlanta race. I know Kyle wanted the chunk of concrete after, and Kurt ended up stealing it from him on Sunday. So pretty funny. But I think Eric, I think the big takeaway from this one though, Kyle Busch 5 for 5. The greatest Xfinity Series driver of all time. Padding the stats.
Yep.
See if he comes back next year.
And then James, we saved the best for last because the SRX series was at Slinger this weekend. Marco Andretti with the win, but in the end, man, what a freaking race! Wasn't
that fantastic? I know you watched it delayed, and Todd and I were on the chat.
I didn't see anything of it. All I saw a comment about Paul Tracy, and then I muted the conversation, so I couldn't see it. So I was good. I went into it completely not knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah, we were freaking out, man. That's probably the most Todd and I have been like during a race, back and forth, because it was so entertaining, so good.
How do we get one of, I mean, so here's the question. I'm not familiar with the Slinger Nationals other than the name Slinger Nationals. How many cars do they run in that feature at the Slinger Nationals? Do you know?
I would say some? Probably around 20 some. You can't fit that many cars on a quarter mile.
Is there any way we could get the truck series or something here? Like, how could we do that? You'd never be able to run the Cup series here because, first of all, there's not enough room. There's only 10,000 seats in the place.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I looked at an overhead map of this place, James, and this place is smaller than Tri-City is here locally.
Oh my God,
it's tiny. I don't know how they pack people in for the Slinger Nationals.
Yeah.
But man, if there was even, like I said, the Cup Series couldn't do it because you have to guarantee that the 40 or all the charter drivers are getting a start. But you got to believe that you could do it in the Truck Series and say, okay, we're only going to start 24 in the feature. But we'll run heat races and you get points from the heat races too, or something. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
I would just love to see. I'd love to see anything racing here. I mean,
can we just fix Bristol? Wouldn't that be part of it?
This place was so good, man. I didn't even know what Slinger Speedway was.
I'd like to give us some credit here. We had this circled.
Yeah, we did.
We were like, I was pumped.
No, I give you all the credit on this because I didn't know anything about Slinger until you started talking about it.
Oh my God! And then of course Derek Winter, our former guest on the podcast, was there, and I didn't even know. And he texted me a picture sitting in turn one. I was like, son of a gun.
Yeah, he's not welcome on the show again.
That's unbelievable. And you know the best part.
Where the hell was the invite, Derek?
Yeah, no kidding, dude. And you know, Eric, the finish of this wasn't even that great after what happened.
No.
Considering all that went into the race.
It was still a pretty good finish, though. I mean,
well, I guess we can break the race down, but Eric, the side by side up front battling for the lead was just, I mean, Stewart was trying the high side. I mean, golly, you had Paul Tracy was doing Paul Tracy stuff, but but the battle up front was just incredible.
I'm gonna say something, James. This is my controversial statement of the night.
Oh boy, here we go.
As I said with the Busch brothers,
yes,
Paul Tracy is needed in this series.
Oh yeah, he's a great heel.
I'll tell you what, it's to the point where I hate him. It's to the point where even Bestwick is picking on him now. It's so good.
Yeah, I sports hate Paul Tracy. Yeah. You like, it's not real hate, but it's
legit it might be real hate.
Well, him and I have a history, so yeah, maybe.
It looks like just about everybody there hates him. He was in the trailer yelling at Haley Deegan after the race. That was in her vlog.
I would have loved to have seen, because he's just got a big mouth.
Yeah.
Like, what are you gonna do with Haley Deegan when she takes your ass out, dude?
Exactly.
I am such a big fan of Haley Deegan. After that,
have you watched her vlog?
I saw like a snippet of it on
Watch
Instagram.
the Slinger vlog because the what the heck do they call it? I don't know, whatever. Just the way they're talking about the racing afterwards is so much fun. Listen to her talk to the different drivers in the pits afterwards. She talked to Bobby Labonte a little bit. She's Elio. Yeah. I tell you what, I'm not an Elio fan, but just watching Elio and this vlog made me a giant Elio fan because he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's good.
He's a goofball. And again, I think we talked about this last week, James. This series is full of personalities. First of all, they all were great drivers at one point. They may not be anymore, but the personalities that are here, this is what we need in NASCAR again. Yes. You know?
Oh man, you're coming around on my personalities.
You got the heel and Paul Tracy. You got Elio, who's just a goofball. You got Michael Waltrip, who's Michael Waltrip. Tony Stewart, the gruff, whatever.
And Tony's doing the in-car stuff. So that's been good.
Marco, I think, was more excited than I've ever seen him in an IndyCar race winning this thing.
And Eric, you've got the intrigue of the local champ coming in and Luke Fahrenhaus.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's 17 years old. How much personality could he have? But you don't need it when you go out there and you drive like that. Right. That kid was incredible.
Well, he was fastest in practice too. And then, James, this is, again, I said before this, I didn't know anything about Slinger, and now it's on my list of tracks I want to visit.
And it's not that far away. It's in Wisconsin.
This series has not only made me more interested in drivers that I wasn't interested in before, but it's also exposed me to short tracks around the country that I haven't been exposed to.
Yeah.
And it's again, I've come around on it. It has done everything that it was meant to do.
And you know, Eric, we're celebrating tonight is the 1 year anniversary that this series was announced, which I
Nice.
saw.
That's cool.
We were talking about it a year ago on this. So it's to see what it's become now is really cool. And we're watching.
I'm disappointed there's only one left.
I know, I'm bummed. I wish we had a couple more.
But now they can go out to Nashville this weekend and just tear them all up because they got a whole year to rebuild them.
And Paul Tracy's going to do his best. But yeah, we've got one race left. We've got Chase Elliott coming in.
Yep.
The Cup Series champ is coming in to see what he can do. But
apparently it's a big deal that they let Napa on the car too, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's a big deal for them because they don't have. I mean, they had sponsors set in stone,
right?
But you're bringing in, I mean, whatever you got to do to bring in a guy like Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
If this opens the door for Denny Hamlin and all those guys in the future, to do one or two races moving forward, that's only gonna. You've got your local champions now. You've got the intrigue of the current champion coming in.
All I can say is don't ever move this thing off of these bull rings.
Yeah, and keep it in the summer. This is a fun little. Yep. I don't care if they. Honestly, I'd love to see more races, but if they keep a 6-week schedule for the next couple of years,
I think the best thing they could do is a 6-week schedule, James, because it leaves you wanting more.
I know, it's kind of like football.
Yeah,
it's never long enough, and that race, Eric, was side by side up front all day long. Marco came out of nowhere late, and then poor Luke Fahrenhaus was going to win this race. He was leading into turn one. And Haley Deegan, instead of taking the finish, took revenge out on Paul Tracy, and it was beautiful. Just beautiful, just completely. And then, of course, Marco got the restart of the century, and that was it. But, man, so good, so good.
I will say though that Haley, if you look at the replay, and she talks about this in her vlog, she was on the line, man. She didn't move up into him; he chopped her off.
Oh, yeah, that's what he does.
He's a freaking tool.
He is a fool. I wish they would make him fix his own car. That was my tweet.
That would be good.
Saturday night, but yeah. Oh, I was so excited.
It is funny that they are more than willing to tear up these cars that they don't have to fix or pay for, aren't they?
Yeah, no kidding, right? I know. Well, I think they were nervous the first week or two.
Yeah.
But they've come around. I think they've got the green light.
Major props to this crew to be able to put these things back together every week.
Oh, I know.
And they tore some up this week. I was expecting Slinger to tear some cars up, and they tore some up.
That last wreck was pretty big.
Yeah.
For the SRX team, but yeah, you've got a whole mixed bag, man. You got Willie T out there, and Michael Waltrip's good at tearing stuff up too. Or poor Ernie Francis, making a name for himself, but he got mixed up with Paul Tracy. For me as a fan, I'm just hoping Tony Stewart steers clear of Paul.
Yeah,
and can get the championship.
Well, Haley mentioned in her vlog that when she wrecked Tracy, he went down through the infield, and as soon as she saw him go down in the infield, she went to the outside of Stewart because she's like, he's not going to wreck Stewart.
That's really smart. That's really smart. Yeah, don't mess with the boss. Yeah, that's really smart. Good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm really glad. Eric, I'm really glad you're enjoying it as much as I am.
I love it.
Like, yeah.
Last week was a little disappointing, at Indy, but it still had a good finish and kept me hooked. And like you said, this one was circled, so.
Yeah, so much fun.
I'm a little leery about Nashville because I don't think Nashville is going to put on as good of a show as these real small bull rings do. But we'll see.
But yeah, like you said, there's nothing that they can leave it all there and bring home the steering wheel.
Yep.
They'll be fine. So very cool.
Yep, I like it.
Yep, I love it too. I'm gonna miss it, but we got one more week. We get to crown a champion at Nashville. It's gonna be fun.
Go. I don't even care about the points. I mean, I don't.
No,
care.
It doesn't matter.
It's
No, the points really don't. Yeah, it doesn't matter in this series. I want to see what Tony Stewart can do with Chase Elliott if there's anything there. I really want to see that. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. Let's talk some news, James. There's not a whole lot this week, but a little bit. We mentioned Michael Annett in the Truck Series race was scheduled to race. That one was pulled out at the last minute. Josh Berry. Right, Josh Berry replaced him, or did somebody else replace him in that one?
Yeah, no, Josh Berry was
there.
Yep, and he's replacing him this week too. So
yeah. Let's see. NASCAR has granted him a playoff waiver. Originally, we weren't really sure what happened, just that he hurt himself off the track, and it turns out he has a stress fracture, according to Junior Motorsports, in his femur. The hope is to sit out this weekend and then heal up for the next couple of weeks because we got the the Olympic break, and then he'll be back
Yeah.
for Watkins Glen. So
Yeah, he'll only miss one more race here, and he'll be back.
Yeah.
The stress fracture, you can drive with the stress fracture.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that NASCAR granted the waiver though. That's what they should do in that situation. That's what it's for.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Personally, I just think everybody should get a waiver unless you're skipping for no reason.
Right.
So, and that's basically what they. I mean, honestly, that's really what they do. If you miss,
just be in the top. Yeah, be in the top 30.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, big rumors this week. If we'd have done this podcast a little earlier, we might have a different story here. A lot of rumors flying this week about the next gen car and crash tests that occurred at Talladega, or other crash tests. Reddit had multiple crash tests and dead dummies and all this stuff. NASCAR put out I have a bulletin in the notes, but they put out a notice to teams this week to kind of try and squash what the rumors were. And then Scott Miller addressed him on SiriusXM. Let's play that real quick and then we'll discuss this. Here's Scott Miller on SiriusXM, I believe today.
What everybody needs to understand is when we were able to do that testing and any safety testing that we do, there are reams of data that come off of that. And we, as far as the time frame goes, it always takes a while to piece together a complete report on what we saw in a crash. So it's not like anybody should have expected that we would go crash that car and look at a couple of graphs and say, hey, we're done analyzing this data. We see absolutely nothing in the data that's alarming, but we want to have a comprehensive report. And I have no idea how all of the rumors started about that it didn't go well, because it did go well. So that's where we are, and hopefully we can get that report out. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to John and seen where they are with that and, it being presented to everyone. But, it shouldn't be too much longer. But to expect that was going to happen in a day or two was unrealistic to begin with. And maybe we should have communicated that better up front. It's not like because it's taken time, it's not good. That's obviously how all the rumors get started. So we might have should have told everyone up front, don't expect a comprehensive report because it takes time.
So this took off on Reddit a couple nights ago, or a few nights ago, actually, before the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And it just blew up from there. I guess the biggest thing was there was somebody asking about, so there was a rumor that there was a failed test, and somebody asked whether that meant that it would have been a fatality in the accident. And Chase Briscoe responded on Reddit that yes, confirming that that's what that meant, not necessarily confirming the whole thing. Of course, as soon as you get a driver's name attached to it, then it goes freaking crazy and spirals out of everywhere. I read something today, and this is unsubstantiated, so I don't know for sure how accurate it is, but read something today that it's possible that the test failed in that the sled that was designed to trigger the test didn't work, and therefore the test didn't happen, and NASCAR listed it as a failed test, which means not that it was a bad result, just that there wasn't a result. So as usual, things go spiraling on the internet. A bunch of people that don't know what they're talking about start spreading stuff. But in the end, I think good that we finally got some information out there. The drivers were very vocal this week. We're going to talk about how vocal they were about Atlanta and the redesign. And this helps them get some of that information that they say they've been denied recently. So I guess in the end, it's good, right?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem, Eric, is not to say, not to call out anybody, and we're glad we had that audio from Scott Miller,
right?
But the leadership at NASCAR has learned nothing over the years of just be upfront with the stuff and don't put out any information that can be misinterpreted. I mean, you can communicate, that there was a failed test for whatever reason, and you can communicate it in a way where just be honest. Honestly, Eric, it's just being honest and and keeping people in the loop of what's going on.
It's also really easy for us to judge it when we're not there and don't know what all goes into this. And I mean, I would imagine there's some liability issues here too, that you don't want to say that a test is good and then find out it wasn't, you do want to analyze the data. But again, like you said, I think this is just a communication issue.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a leadership issue there right now.
Yeah, exactly. And when things appear secretive, that's only going to make it worse.
Yeah.
And if you just come right up front and say what's going on, come up front and tell people we're doing a test. And then when it's over, we did the test. Here was the results. There's more to come, or we will have more information as we continue to analyze the data. That's really all you have to say. And then the speculation doesn't blow out of control. So
it still will.
Well, it's still
Reddit will still Reddit,
Yes, exactly. It still will, but at least you have solace in the fact that NASCAR's coming to us and saying, hey, here's what we have. Not take it or leave it, but you know what I mean. That it's just, yes, here's what we have, here's what happened. And if Eric, there's weird stories from NASCAR Reddit about where Dale Earnhardt's 2001 Daytona car is. I mean, you can get into all sorts of rabbit holes with some of the stuff that's out there. So NASCAR's got to do a better job of just informing the people out there. And you and I were messaging about this earlier. Who's in control of NASCAR really? Is it the fans? Is it the drivers, or do we have leadership in place? Because I have questions right now about a lot of
I've had questions since the drivers group was formed, the ownership group. I mean, I don't know who's leading the ship right now, and it's really bothersome. I mean, that's one thing that I will say when Bill France was there, you knew who was leading.
It was Big Bill. France. Yep.
And
Bill Jr.
Yep. We just don't have that right now, and we haven't had that for a long time. And I think it's time for NASCAR to take back control of this. And I know it's tough. I know it's difficult. But it's still a private company. It's not publicly owned. So do it. And the Steves have done a pretty good job. Phelps, O'Donnell, that they have done a lot of good things, but they also have a lot of blemishes that they need to account for and learn from. And sometimes I feel like they're just not learning from some of those things. Yeah, I agree. I think that's it on that. I feel like I had one other thing to discuss on it. Oh, I do want to give credit where credit's due. This broke in the evening, and then the following morning, immediately, first thing in the morning, Mr. James's best friend, Bob Pockris, was on the case. Tracking down information, tweeting out information, and several other NASCAR journalists did really well as well. But Bob really struck me as typical Bob, getting right to it immediately. He does.
He gives you, and that's the great thing about Bob is he is just a plethora of information.
He's also not afraid to ask a stupid question that a fan might have.
Yeah, I know. Yep.
So I'll give him credit for that. Fair. I've heard him ask questions in the media center before that he's not going to get a good response from, but he's not afraid to ask the question anyway.
That's right. Yeah, he's got a job to do, and he does it well.
Yep. He's not there to be everybody's buddy. He's just there to do his job. So
that's right.
Good on him. NASCAR is producing a playoff docuseries that will air on the USA Network. And I guess in the same vein, Peacock will debut its Chase Elliott documentary in August, apparently, as well. Good. I mean, it's cool that this stuff's getting out there. I know, James, you had some concerns about the USA Network, but I have a feeling we're going to find a lot of NASCAR content on USA Network when NBC Sports goes away.
Yes.
And I'll tell you what, I forgot to mention this during the truck race, but a bigger travesty than the end of that truck race is the fact that Fox still can't be bothered to send Vince Welch and Michael Waltrip to the track to broadcast from the booth at the track. Versus having them sit in the studio in Charlotte and talk about being in Iowa.
Why would they do that?
Freaking irritating. God, does that irritate me. I realize that it's more money and more work, but come on. Act like you give a crap about the sport you're covering.
Yeah.
For God's sakes. Last year they had an excuse. There's no excuse right now.
Eric, the great docuseries that is on Netflix about F1.
Yeah. That's the problem is you're not going to get that.
You're not going to get it because you have these TV partners, and F1 doesn't care in America. They've got it on ESPN with no commercials, or they did for a while, and then they've got the Netflix doc. There's a reason F1 in America is popping right now, and it's because everybody has Netflix and they're watching it. Nobody's going to be going to the USA Network to watch this docuseries. NASCAR's trying to pump this up as something that it's not. And it's just, I'll try to watch it, but I'm not going out of my way to watch it either, honestly.
I don't know. Hopefully we can see some personalities like we see in that F1 documentary, because I don't see them in the sport right now.
And honestly, the Peacock Chase Elliott thing is a better proposition, because at least Peacock's never going to be Netflix. It's I don't know where it's going to fall in the in the streaming wars. But a lot of people have Peacock, and they have it for The Office, or they have it for whatever else, live sports. But yeah, Chase Elliott, that will be an interesting one. I have long said that he doesn't have a personality. He's vanilla ice cream. But let's hope that, I don't know, he's the most popular driver in the sport. Maybe we'll like him a little bit more with this documentary. We'll learn something. I am cautiously optimistic about that one. I think that one has some, and there's the Bubba Wallace one. Honestly, Eric, that's Netflix, right?
Yeah, that is Netflix.
That's got potential as well. So the Chase one and the Bubba one, where you've got two guys, I would say complete ends of the personality spectrum.
Right.
Bubba's definitely a big personality. So we'll see where this goes. I'm optimistic for that one. The playoff one, I don't know. That was mute when it hit me. So
right.
I don't know. Yeah.
We talked last week about the news about Atlanta Motor Speedway being reconfigured. Work has already begun on that project following Sunday's race. Basically, all the drivers, except apparently Kurt Busch, are unhappy with the Atlanta reconfiguration. Kurt commented after the race that he was excited about it. A lot of complaints from drivers. Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin were very vocal about it during pre-race media appearances. A lot of drivers. NASCAR claims they actually consulted with drivers, and apparently the only one that anybody can pinpoint in the Cup Series that they consulted with was Kurt. So I don't know. James, to be quite honest, quit your bitching and race. Get in the car and race. NASCAR drivers have been upset about decisions made at tracks for years. I honestly want the NASCAR drivers to have less say in these decisions. I'm sick and tired of them having so much say. I think that they have not helped the confusion between what freaking aero package we should be running in this sport over the last 5 years. I think they've continued to cloud it up. I think if we let the drivers design every track, we'd have probably about 15 Michigans of some sort, and there would never be an accident. And people could run in every groove on the racetrack, but you'd never get within 6 feet of another car. I don't know. And Denny had a point last week. We commented on SMI making decisions and changing tracks and failing at that, but I think SMI also doesn't get the credit for the ones that they've succeeded at. I mentioned Las Vegas last week. Another one that's a real good one, that's a great example, is the Roval at Charlotte is one of the best races of the year now, and there were a lot of skeptics, drivers, very concerned with that race happening, and that it was going to be a disaster, and it worked out pretty well. So I don't know. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but I just want them to get in the car and race.
Yeah, I will say, one thing to the drivers' defense, I guess. I mean, I understand they're mad. They have to drive these things. We're making decisions now. This goes back to leadership. Well, let's bring it full circle, I guess. We are making decisions now based on an iRacing sim.
Yeah, that is true. Yes.
And also going into a season where we have a car where we have data on this car. We have never raced this car. This car's never been in a 40 car pack.
Does it surprise you, James, that we've been developing this car? Sorry to interrupt you.
Go take it.
2 years that, it supposedly close to ready to go.
2+ years. Yeah.
And June 30th is when we did the first actual crash test on it.
Yeah, that seems disturbing.
Seems a little odd. Yep. But anyway, sorry to interrupt your thought.
No, that's fine. I mean, so I don't know. I am concerned that I'm glad we have iRacing, and I'm glad iRacing is so good that you feel like you can repave a track based on the results that you're seeing there. And I know there's other things involved, but I worry we're rushing the gun here because we just don't know. Atlanta needs to be repaved, and the owners of the track can do whatever the hell they want with it.
And you're not gonna if you're gonna do this, you need to do it now, because you're not gonna tear it up in 2 years to redo it.
Exactly. And I don't hear anybody bitching and complaining about Charlotte being too thin either. So I don't know where the drivers fall in as far as that's concerned. But I wish we weren't rushing to decisions like this. Is pretty rash for a car that we're moving into the future here, and we don't know. I guess it's all going to be brand new, which Eric could have its advantages as far as the entertainment factor, but
Yeah.
we don't know how this car's. So Atlanta wants pack racing. They want tire wear.
This was Kevin Harvick's statement.
Yeah, they want all this stuff. Yeah, thank you, Kevin Harvick. They want all these things, and it doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It never has worked that way. So I don't know what.
Yeah, you're not going to have pack racing and tire wear at the same time.
Yeah, it's
not possible.
Yeah, so
you lost pack racing at Daytona when Daytona started to wear tires out. You know?
Yeah, and we're in a weird spot here, man. There's just a lot of red flags being flying around. I don't care what Atlanta wants to do with the racetrack. They want to make it. They want to. Eric, I'm going to steal one from you from years ago. They want to put a loop-de-loop on the backstretch. Go for it. That's an inside joke for everybody listening. But go for it. I mean, it's your track. Do whatever the heck you want. But
here's two things. First of all, this isn't a NASCAR decision. Yes, NASCAR has to approve it, but this is SMI. They're not owned by NASCAR. They're independent from NASCAR.
Right. That's right.
Again, I'm sure they didn't do it without input from NASCAR, but it's not a NASCAR decision. Secondly, I'll go back to this, James. How many drivers did Bill France Jr. consult when he built Talladega?
That's right. Yeah.
And guess what? When all the drivers hated it, he said, "It's okay. We'll run the Xfinity guys."
Yep. We'll run. Yeah. Well, and back then they were just scabs, I guess.
Yep.
Too. Yep. Absolutely. I understand that.
Yep.
I understand that.
I don't know. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about change, so I hope it does what they want it to do. I tell you what, if they create pack racing on Atlanta Motor Speedway, I will love it.
Do you think Big Bill France had any idea that what was going to happen at Daytona when they first built that track and what it looks like today?
No way.
It's Eric, it's evolution in sports. Yeah. And if they want to fix this track and do whatever the hell they want with it, then go for it. We'll see. We're just gonna have to wait and see what the product is, and the driver's gonna have to deal with it. Yeah. And I know Blunt Larson's back, and he's not happy.
Here's one thing I will note, James, coming off the Atlanta weekend. I know that one of the reasons we left Kentucky is because Kentucky's racing sucked. Another reason we left Kentucky is because of the pandemic. But if you're making decisions on whether we should be in Kentucky based on crowd sizes, this one didn't make up for what was at Kentucky. I'm sorry. There was not a lot of people at Atlanta.
People had their first date, and all right. The world is open. We saw NASCAR, and now we're on to the next thing.
Reconfigure this place all you want, but use that as a sign that you shouldn't have 2 races here.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
I'd rather you run at Kentucky and have a crappy race than run 2 races here where people don't want to show up. I'm sorry. I know that fan turnout is less important in NASCAR now, but I'm sorry. That's still how I judge whether people like a race or not, is how many people sit their butts in the seats.
Yep. Yeah, I know. And I know it's a made for TV product for what it is now, but we are in a renaissance of tracks changing here, Eric, where we had basically, I know every track is different, but when we had the NASCAR track boom in the early 2000s, every track was the same. Yep. They were all the same. Now we're Auto Club will be changed.
Yep. That's the funniest thing is everybody bitched when they made this track this shape.
Yeah.
And now they're changing something, making it less like Texas and Charlotte, and now we're complaining again. Just you gotta love NASCAR.
I know you got it. Yeah, NASCAR drivers and NASCAR fans. Can't win with them. Can't win without them.
Right.
So, yep.
Any news that I missed, James? Anything pop up on the Twitters while we were doing this?
Nope. I was checking the Twitters, and I think we're good, my man.
All right. Worries. It is time to make our picks this week, James. And guess what? You get to pick first this week because I know the comeback is
complete. It happened.
Finally passed you. Large part thanks to Stuart Friesen crap in the bed at Knoxville.
I even beat Kyle Larson, and I still lost this week. Unbelievable.
Yep. I got you by 10 points, a little more than, I guess, 11 points on the Xfinity race with Justin Allgaier over Harrison Burton. But you got me with Alex Bowman. Great pick. Conveniently, Alex Bowman got 48 points this weekend.
Yes.
In the 48 car. So
could have used a few more.
With that, I have 1996. Good year, by the way. And James has 1980.
No, I don't know too much about 1980. That was before my time.
Yeah, so it was a year before mine. So
hopefully we'll both be in the 2000 club here before before this is over, but we'll see.
There you go.
It could be a complete disaster.
So with that,
So I get
James
to
gets the
pick
first
first.
pick. The first one is the Am Better Get Vaccinated 200, the Xfinity Series from Loudon, New Hampshire, James.
Wow. Okay. I will take Justin Allgaier.
Justin Allgaier. Okay. You are taking the guy I can't take.
Yes, that's true.
All right. You make this tough.
You're in a weird spot now.
So I'm tempted to take the guy that you can't take, right? Because did you pick Harrison Burton last week?
I did.
So I'm tempted to take him because his dad was really good here. His dad historically won a 300-lap race by leading all 300 laps here at New Hampshire. But I'm not going to go that direction. James, I'm doing it again. So first of all, I almost went with Noah Gragson because he had a great race last week and he's really good here. But I'm going with Daniel Hemrick again. Daniel Hemrick is also good here. He's only got a couple starts in the Xfinity Series, but he's got a good average finish, and I think he might be able to get it done.
Very good.
So
all right,
there we go. And then the Cup Series race is Sunday. It's the Foxwoods Resort Casino 301. Who you got, James?
Woo. I may surprise you here. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. I was really thinking the Penske guys were going to be strong. But that being said, since I get to pick first, I got to make up some ground. I will take Martin Truex Jr.
Martin Truex Jr.
for the win here. Basing that off a couple of things, but I remember how Phoenix went earlier this year, and that's stuck in my mind for some reason. So I'm going to go with Martin Truex Jr.
Yeah, except Martin Truex Jr. has pretty much done nothing since then.
Yeah, top 5 last week. So we'll see.
He's been pretty quiet lately.
I was gonna take, I think, who you're gonna take, but we'll see. We'll see who you take here.
So I am gonna go with somebody who has run very well here in the past. He's got a couple of wins here as well, and is coming off of needing a little redemption this week, and I'm gonna go
KFB.
Kyle Busch as my
I
pick
didn't see
for
that
this
one
one.
coming. No, I thought you were going to take old Hambone. So
Nope.
Kyle Busch.
Nope. I'm going. I should even tease it further and said I was going with a teammate, but nope. I'm going Kyle Busch.
right.
Yeah, I see Kyle Busch as a good opportunity here. My second pick, who I was going to go with, if you pick Kyle, I was going to go with Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick's good here as well, and I think he's going to win.
I like
man.
that. I was eyeballing Joey Logano.
Yeah, the Penske guys are tempting, but I don't know lately.
Yeah, I haven't seen enough from them, so I'm scared off just a little bit. But I would not be surprised if the Penske guys were all over the place this weekend up front. So we'll
pay real close attention to this race because it probably will tell us a lot about the championship.
It will tell something, that's for sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, similar package.
Fantasy League. I know James wants to talk about Fantasy League this week. He's probably got it all teed up, ready to go because
sure do.
Old James got himself a win this week.
I did. Two out of 3 for me after I completely was terrible last week at Road America. But
no, I followed it up by being terrible this week. So
yeah, so I got some redemption. I had a lot on the line with Kurt Busch, Alex Bowman. Like those were my guys this week. So 248 for me. I get the win. Green Eggs and Hamlin right behind me, nipping at my heels. 245, and Team Draft Tona 223. So that was our top 3. Eric was way down in 10th. Sorry, man.
Yeah.
Overall, Eric, you were second last week. You've since given that back to me. We're trading spots all over our picks. Ranger still first. I am second. Eric is third. Justin 713, not too far behind you, so watch out. He's there. But that is the Fantasy League update that everybody wants to hear every week.
There you go. Shout outs this week. I kind of already shouted mine out quite a bit. I was going to shout out the Haley Deegan vlog if you haven't checked it out. I don't know, man. You know, some days I don't like Haley. Some days I really do. I've seen good things out of her recently, and the vlogs.
Saturday was a day to like her.
Yeah, the vlog's interesting. She does a good job with it. It's not too much, as long as you can get past her laugh. But it was definitely good. Some good inside stuff this week. It's pretty neat to watch her in the Truck Series vlogs, sitting there in the motor coach talking to her crew chief and breaking stuff down, stuff you don't normally get to see. So aside from that, I have also kind of a somber shout out this week as well. James, I don't know if you know what today is, but
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I know where you're going.
There you go. 28 years ago today, we lost Davey Allison in a helicopter crash at Talladega Superspeedway, July 13th, 1993. And changed the motorsports world for real big.
Yeah. Davey and Allen, when we lost both of those guys.
Yeah.
Probably my first real motorsports, I guess, memory. Because I was really young, but I remember losing Davey. And Davey being a big deal. We lost a lot of championships, I think.
Yeah.
When that happened, and one heck of a career. But regardless, he made the Hall of Fame. Allen made the Hall of Fame. Never forgotten. But yeah, the driver of the 28 years later. That's something.
Yep.
Can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Davey won his only Top Series championship after his death when he won the IROC championship in 1993.
That's right. Yep.
There you go.
Yep. I think Dale Earnhardt drove the car for him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I can't remember who had it.
I think Earnhart stepped in. I don't think Earnhart was running that year, and when Davey passed, I think Dale took the seat. So
very possible.
Yep.
Any shout outs from you, James?
I kind of used mine up already too. I just wanted to shout out Derek for being at Slinger and making me jealous.
Yeah, screw him.
Oh man. I want to go next year.
Yeah, I tell you what, James, I didn't have any interest in going to an SRX race this year, but I have changed my mind. Actually, was almost thinking about how can I get to Nashville this weekend to go see that one.
Oh my God. Yeah.
But not gonna do it. I'll tell you what, I was looking at the schedule too. So I put in for credentials today for MIS, and they've got a new credential form where you can put in for other tracks as well. I'm actually pretty excited with the way they're doing it because the SMI tracks have been they've kind of been the wild, wild west as far as credentials. All the tracks kind of handle them themselves, where SMI was all through one place. And it looks like that they're doing that with ISC now too, or with NASCAR tracks. So that's good. Anyway, so I'm looking down the list at the other tracks that have races yet this year, and Kansas is sticking out to me right there, and Martinsville sticking out to me right there. And it's like, man, I got so much vacation time. It'd be so easy just to hop in and take a trip out there. And
Martinsville would be good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna do it. I'll wait till next year. Next year, I'm planning on hitting a few. So, anyway, yes, James, where can they find you on social media if they want to chat with you during the week?
At James Cush on Twitter.
You can find me at TSuperspeedway on Twitter. You can find the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/thesuperspeedway. Our podcast is on www.thesuperspeedway.com. You can find old episodes on there, links to the show notes, which have links to articles we discuss. All kinds of past race coverage, hopefully future race coverage if MIS approves our credentials. Hey, MIS, please approve our credentials. Photos, all kinds of cool stuff. So check that out. You can find the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Wherever you found us today, we hope you subscribe and continue to listen. And as I said at the beginning of the show, we're not doing the YouTube thing anymore. You can find some old episodes, a couple episodes on there at Dream Bigger Media on YouTube. We'll go live every now and then or do some video stuff once in a while. But for now, we'll just do the audio thing. So we'll be back next week to break down New Hampshire, lead us into the Olympic break, which is the most ridiculous thing in the world. But we're going to do it anyway. It's all right. We can use a couple weeks off from NASCAR, right, James? Right?
Sure. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't think the news is going to take a break, so we'll probably be around some during those couple weeks anyway. But we'll discuss that all next week. We'll discuss New Hampshire and get ready to go back to racing after the Olympics. Until then, everybody, let's go racing.